Well, first and foremost, great show.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So this is Chaz Langley with the B-side. I'm here with Christian Kuria. We just got finished watching him at Sony Hall here in New York City. How do you feel? Let's start there.
It's crazy. I feel like, I've spent a lot of time in like LA, like a lot of artists and stuff like that. And the thing that I always say in the room when I'm with other people who get to also do this, is like, guys, like, we get to do this. This is crazy.
Yeah.
It's very easy to sort of like see it as this just normal sort of day-to-day thing. But it's like, I don't think I'll ever get to that point where it gets old to have a bunch of strangers show up because they resonate with music.
I love that. So when did it start for you?
I mean, music was something that was kind of like inborn from a very young age. My parents were really involved in church. My mom was a pianist. My grandma was a pianist. My dad sang. I mean, everyone sang. And there was a lot of just instruments everywhere in my immediate family and extended family. And so I had, it really started for me at like 12 years old. In middle school, I wanted to be in a band. And it really started with just like falling in love with the guitar. And then from there, sort of everything unfolded into songwriting and all the like.
Yeah, I love that. So now as an artist, when you started that early and guitar was like your first instrument that you picked up, what would you say, or who would you say was probably one of your first influences when you picked up the guitar and you're like, I'll play like that? But
it's funny because I started down this road of sort of punk rock, and being from the Bay Area, which is crazy, right? You wouldn't think, right?
Right.
I listened to a lot of Green Day and like a lot of like 3-chord punk rock music, right? Right. I mean, that's what I say.
Wow.
It's crazy, right?
Yes.
But when I got into high school, I found John Mayer.
Yeah.
John Mayer opened the door and slowly waits. And I just became obsessed. I learned like every solo I could find on YouTube. And kind of just like became an obsession from that point. And I really, really began to study the guitar at that point.
I love that. So now, does he know you're alive?
It's funny. We have like a lot of, we have like so many mutual connects.
Yeah.
And I've been lucky enough to work on some stuff that he's touched. But we have not crossed paths yet.
We need to make that happen. That needs to happen. Oh my gosh. So paradigm. What a complex word. It has so many facets, like a diamond. When you named this album Paradigm, what was the genesis of that being the title song? And sonically, as I listened to a lot of your work, this is kind of leveled up emotionally and, cinematically almost, where it almost takes on almost a visual story of how you're kind of weaving between, the place of like love and kind of loss and heartbreak. So where's a lot of that inspiration come from for this particular album?
Well, the title of the album kind of was just immediately obvious to me when I wrote the song Paradigm, which was not like intentionally like to be the central sort of like point of the album. Paradigm just really encapsulated the sort of like concept of the through line conceptually between all of the songs.
Right.
And I felt like it just so like succinctly captured exactly what I was trying to say in this open way that I think people can find their own meaning in that. But on a sonic level, I think that I really found myself at a spot where I wanted to prove to myself that I could make an entire album start to finish on my own. And I just happened to have been into like a lot of 80s rock and a lot of this sort of like sort of emotional ringing French 80s ballads. From like Toto and like the Police and all that stuff.
Man, you're digging deep and digging crazy.
Yeah. You know what I mean? And so like Phil Collins was like a big sort of like, North Star for this project. But at the same time, like I grew up in church. I grew up playing gospel music. I grew up playing, like listening to that kind of stuff. And so I think that just like the natural sort of like cross between these two sort of things, these two sort of truths for me, which is like, I've always loved soul music and R&B music, but I've also loved rock. I've also loved, chorus and guitar effects.
Yeah,
I see.
yeah, I love that. And it's funny. I want to piggyback off of what you just said about the church background and your parents and your family being in the church and you listen to gospel music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I must say, being that I just got finished watching you perform, there were people in the audience as if they were praise and worshiping.
Yeah.
It was really magical to see. Did you know that this music would actually have that sort of impact on people?
There's no way that you can foresee that, There's no way that you can, like, when you're making a song, it's such an interesting thing. It's like there's this necessary ego of you believing it's the best thing on earth. You believing that it's like the most emotionally resonant thing.
Right.
But you don't, when you're done, and if you're a well-adjusted person, I think, you naturally just kind of lose almost touch with what it is and what it isn't.
Yeah.
And so coming into a room full of people, and just like seeing them just completely like just sing these songs out.
Yeah.
It makes me emotional every time.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, not only are they listening to my story, but they relate their stories to my experience.
Right.
And to this music. And I think that was just such a cool sort of superpower of music, not even just musicians, but just like the power of music.
Yeah. So tell me about the journey. So you said you did in Borderline back in 2020. Now, is that post-pandemic? Where were you creatively, emotionally during that time when you said, even in the show, you were like, man, I don't know what I was doing. I'll just put something together. Yeah. Like, where were you back in that time? Because I know a lot of people, the pandemic did a few different things, right? You either, it became, it made diamonds of people, or it made coal and people crumble. But you seem to have thrived in that space creatively, creating that album. So what were you feeling when you wrote that album?
Well, what's interesting is that album really came together before the pandemic. And I think that there's a lot of, I love like seeing people talk about how like, I see like these like sort of for fun conspiracies on like, oh, like, we're still in 2019. We just like we entered a time, whatever, It's fun to like theorize and have fun with that stuff. But in a crazy way, I feel like so much changed after the pandemic. Nobody needs me to tell them that because I think everybody knows. You know what I mean? Everybody knows like our world changed. And I think the thing that's so special about that album is that though it was released right at like the very precipice of the pandemic, it came out in January, and in March we were all in our homes. Well, it in a lot of ways it's like a time capsule of like a person who didn't know that our world was about to completely shift.
Yeah.
And so, that's kind of like where I was. The sky was the limit. There was no thought about people not being able to gather or, crowds or any of those things,
Yeah.
So I think that there's a purity in that.
I love that. Now that we're outside, I noticed now this is a deep cut. Now this isn't your evergreen sort of conversation, but in part it is. And the reason why I say it's not because tonight, as I've watched the show and experiencing everyone, I've noticed that you have such a diverse audience. They love your music, although you're under the genre of, R&B, soul. But it obviously transcends worldwide. I've seen every hue in the audience, which is a testament, obviously, to your music and to what you bring to the space. And I'll tell you how I discovered you. I discovered you through Galdive, and your music came up. And I was like, because it was all female heavy for the most part as far as the playlist. Yeah. And me and my wife were cooking, I'm editing, I'm doing something. But around the house, I call it musical fragrance. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, man. And that's what your music does. And when we can just play it as a vibe around the house, like that's special, right? But now, Christian, I gotta say it. I'm listening, but then some things will catch me. And I'm like, what did you say? So I'm like, okay, I don't know if it's the lyrics that aren't distinguishable or I'm just engulfed in like the atmosphere of the music. But then I go and read the lyrics and I'm just like, I would have never thought that's what you said in those songs. Now tell me I'm not the only one. The people.
Oh, this is the thing. I mean, I've always been fascinated by the contrast of like music that hugs you,
Yeah.
and lyrics that absolutely twist your heart.
Yeah.
I think that there's, I mean, even in film, you know, when when a story concludes in a way that doesn't give you all of the answers as to how to feel,
Yeah.
I feel like those are the most memorable experiences for me. So musically, it's the same thing.
Right.
It's like lyrics. I studied a lot of like folk writers like Bob Dylan and obviously John Mayer.
Yes.
is an amazing writer, and I just love the sort of crack of writing, and I love words. And you know, there is definitely I'm inspired by heartbreak and sadness in this weird sort of way.
That's interesting.
I think that it's easier for me personally. I find it easier to sort of distill my thoughts, and I have more to say about that. But I mean, I think that that's slowly changing.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I appreciate you noticing that.
Oh, absolutely, man. Because I'm a fellow singer-songwriter myself. So, you know, whenever I'm writing, I remember when I lived in Nashville for 10 years.
Wow.
And I got to learn and sit at the feet of some Grammy Award winning songwriters.
Wow.
And one of the things that I learned was that you can't always hit it right on the nose. You can't hit the lyric right on the nose.
No.
I call it sing-songy.
Yes.
When it's like,
Yes.
you know, red bed. Yeah. You know, it's just like,
yes.
And that's one thing I find in your lyrics, because you have to dig deep,
Yeah.
you know? And part of the reason why I really started this platform, the B side, is that you have the A side that are the hits, but then you have the B sides that are the deep cuts, right? But your music straddles that line, right? Because like you said, you don't want to sing all the words on the note, right? You want to be able to leave something for people to draw their own conclusion and create their own narrative about,
Absolutely.
right? But you being the conduit to that music is beautiful. Last question. Now the music is one thing, and given that this is the B side. Yeah. Now I know the music is definitely one of those things that you hang your head on as an artist, and you know you want to make your mark while you're here in that capacity. But I know that you being the car, what's the engine to you as a man, and what are you going through now, and that you feel that that you're bringing to the world? What are you working on?
You know, I think creatively or sort of like on a sort of
However way you want to answer that.
You know, I think that I'm going through I think this sort of this era of beautiful transition. You know, there's so many things that are changing in these beautiful ways. I've never loved change, right?
Are you a Virgo by chance?
I'm almost.
Oh, really? Okay.
Almost. I might be a Leo.
Okay. Yeah. Fire and fire.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that that's sort of the theme in my life right now, and I think that goes, you know, me as a person. I'm just kind of in a different place than I was when I was writing my last 3 albums.
Yeah.
And I'm more open to that change. And I think that that's translating in the sort of stylistic risks that I'm willing to take. And, you know, so that's kind of been the sort of, but at the same time, I think that there's also I'm at this point in life where I'm able to kind of look back. I've come far enough to be able to kind of look back on my sort of journey that I'm still on, and and say, okay, wow, that's what that is.
Got it.
That's what is appreciated about this particular way that I distill my world into art, or, you know, that's who I am.
Yeah.
And I think that there's this. I think that, you know, moving forward, you know, when I wrote Paradigm, it was sort of this beautiful rebellion from what I had previously put out, and I loved that record for it.
Yeah.
But I think that the way that I sort of stepped to the side of that is by funding this way to acknowledge all of these parts of who I am as an artist, as a musician, and really sort of creating something that I feel represents all of it.
Yeah.
I love that. That's kind of where I'm.
And isn't that the artist's journey? I mean, you know, there's a sense of evolution, but with that evolution, when you're an artist, especially independent artist, and you have a fan and you have people that find you a certain way, then when you want to break those proverbial chains that initially, you know, got you notoriety, and you want to explore yourself fully, just as you mentioned, because when I play your whole discography, I listen to like some R&B stuff that kind of hints to like some Maxwell vibes, but then I also hear some really ethereal, like very whimsical, very atmospheric almost and cinematic stuff to now. So that transition for you, but the through line has always been the guitar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I feel like I'm always saying that. That's the first time that's been said to me. So I appreciate you seeing that.
Absolutely.
Because it absolutely is.
Yeah.
And for me, it's just like the guitar. It's like me and the sort of guitar as an instrument. It's just, we're like partners in this weird way. I know that's crazy. No, but I don't like, okay, what are we dressing up for Halloween as this year?
Yeah.
That's how, but it's always going to be me and the guitar. It's always going to start there. As a songwriting tool, as a tool of expression. So I appreciate you sort of seeing.
Oh, absolutely. Now you were talking about the transition, and, you know, I know we're talking creatively and in that sort of space, but how about physically? I know you're West Coast. Yeah. But tonight, man, you were showing a lot of love in New York, and we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Any plans to like come out here for any length of time?
You know, it's crazy you say that, but you know, people might be seeing me in 2026.
Hey,
you know,
yo, you heard the exclusive right here, baby.
That's all I'm saying.
Yo, now if that happens, I'm telling you, you gotta promise me that we'll make some time in the studio to write.
Let's absolutely do it.
Seriously, because we're cut from the same. But you know, one thing that I would love to hear. And explore. And I hear the way you're playing, and I, as a producer and as a songwriter and all those sort of things, I'm like, and a singer, I'm like, I would love to hear that. But we'll talk about that when we get together in the studio, and maybe you'll hear it, maybe you won't. But man, Christian, thank you so much for the time. I know you just got finished playing, so I know you're exhausted. But man, thank you so much once again for just taking the time. Thank you for your music. Thank you for just sharing your gift to the world, and being someone who, is independent. I would say on some level, you're independent.
Mm-hmm.
There's obviously an evolution all the time, but I think that the more that you evolve and create your own lane, you're going to find your tribe, and you've already found them. But man, what a pleasure to meet you so much. Absolutely, man. This has been Chaz Langley with the B-side with Christian Kuria, and y'all be hearing a lot more from him. But until then, peace. Perfect, man.
Oh, amazing, man.
Dude,
amazing interview, man.
Thank you, man. No, I mean, from artist to artist. Thank you, man. Yeah, I mean, I think artist to artist is one of those things that I almost feel like I'm living vicariously through people. Yeah. On some level.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Because I sing for a living. Yeah. I sing for commercials, jingles, and I do voiceovers.
That's right.
But I've played my music for some people recently, and they're like, Chaz, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, this is you. You need to do. I'm like, I've got a million things to know. I'm a photographer, cinematographer, I'm a creative director. I'm like, all these different things. But when I hear music, it calls me. Yeah. And when I hear people I'm passionate about, like, it pulls me. I just played my music for a friend of mine. I literally just flew in today. Within 2 hours from Mexico City.
Oh, great.
Which is one of my favorite places on earth.
I want to go there. I'm actually trying to go.
Dude, you would absolutely love it. And I just got back, and I was like, yeah, I'm going. I shared my music with a friend of mine. I shared your music too now. And they were like, yeah, I'm down. I'm down with apology.
Yo,